I want to go back to when obviously we first had a conversation, and I'm not sure how that started, but I want to know what was it that specifically was going on for you, what around that time that we had that
Uh,
conversation.
yeah, I think I remember messaging you. I was in the middle of some really bad anxiety, and I think I remember I was having, yeah, sort of panic attacks, and I was having some unknown health issues, and completely I was just completely flat. I had no direction and no motivation. I basically couldn't leave the house by myself for a few months. I think we've talked about, I moved in with my mum more or less, with the girls, just because I was, yeah, just completely on edge with everything, and I had no faith in my own health or my own mind, my own abilities to do anything basically.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. And can you sort of talk me through what was going through your head at the time when you made a decision to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Something needs to change.
Yeah, I can't remember if there was a specific point, but basically I just felt so helpless, and I've got two girls, so obviously that's doesn't really work. So um yeah, I just made the decision that I had to do something because I couldn't live like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't a life, and I got to a point where I think I'd gone for a holiday up to Sunny Coast with the girls to their dad's house, and yeah, being in the country, it's a lot slower. So being back out there in like the real world, I think that kind of hit home, and just realized how deep I was in the hole. Like I couldn't even walk down the street basically in the city by myself because I was just so anxious. So it was like rock bottom, and I just needed to do something about it if I wanted
Hmm.
any kind of happiness.
Yeah. Okay. And like, obviously, when you made that decision, it was like, okay, enough is enough. This isn't a way to live. I need to move forwards now. I need to change. What What was the, can you walk me through the process? Like, what was the process of change for you?
Of like reaching the decision to change,
Yeah. What
or
was it? Yeah. What was the process from that decision? Like, how did you go about making those changes?
um I think I'm kind of the kind of person that I like to improve in everything. So I think I remember just doing research and finding out on, about anxiety and all those sorts of things and ways to treat it. And then, yeah, I remember seeing your videos a lot. That's how I'd obviously been in contact with yourself. And, yeah, I don't know what made me reach out, but I just decided to start contacting people that would be able to help. And I saw a few different doctors and got advice off family and friends and all that sort of thing. And, yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it. That's all. Yeah, I feel like a lot of that's a bit of a blur because it was about 6 or 8 months worth of just a whole lot of, yeah, negative stuff. So I don't really think too much about it these days, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. And from that like decision when you was like, okay, this needs to change. I've got a process now. Can you just explain the journey that you've been on since that decision up until this point? Like what's happened in that time?
Yeah. So I remember within like a week or two, I think I was of making some big decisions. I haven't yet done anything but decide. Um, I don't know if you remember, I just randomly I had all these bill issues, and I decided to make a change there. And within 4 days, I had like $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank that had just come through randomly. And I don't know, the universe kind of started conspiring with me, I think, once I made those decisions. And then from there, it made me realize I was on the right path to getting better, I suppose. And so since then, I've just been consciously working towards, yeah, suppose taking control of my own mind again, and being comfortable in my own thoughts, and yeah, learning a bit more about the brain. Obviously, with our conversations, that was a really big step for me with the anxiety. Just understanding that it's basically a biological response rather than being swept up in the emotion of it. You can sort of detach from it, and yeah, that enabled me to get it under control pretty quickly, which obviously then spurred on the rest of my life because I could actually I could go shopping in the car by myself, and I moved back home with the girls. And yeah, it's little changes always spur on bigger changes. So I got a couple of jobs lined up. I started back at uni, and it was just a big process of little changes that led to bigger changes that just kept spiraling into more positive outcomes, I suppose.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's a few specific like results that you've spoken about. And obviously that I remember that actually on the call when you made that decision to pretty much take more control of your life and, you know, get both hands on that steering wheel again. And I remember you messaging me saying, oh my God, I've just like, this money has just come into my life and I don't know how, but I don't know whether that's an intention of a decision that I've made.
Yeah.
And then from that place, it was like, okay, cool. I'm going to take these lessons and move forwards. Okay, cool. So like, how has, you know, that process that you've been on, the journey that you've been on and we're still on at the moment, like how has that generated results for you? Like what results have you got as a result of that process?
Um, oh, Comparing it to 6 months ago, pretty much every area of my life is has just been completely flipped upside down in a positive way. So my health and my anxiety, I suppose, is the biggest. I haven't had an anxiety attack or anything for a long time, and there are a few moments where I'll still feel it, but I now have the strategies and that sort of knowledge to, it's basically not a problem for me anymore, which is huge.
How does that impact, you know, your day-to-day life? What specifically does that change
With
for you with the
oh,
anxiety?
everything without having it, yeah, I would, like I said, I'd have a panic attack if I was driving by myself to the shopping centre. So it's just giving me my independence back. I can be, you know, I feel like a strong mother again. You know, being a single mum, I'm like the head of the household, so to speak. So it's given me my power back in that respect, so I can be a strong role model for my girls. You know, I've gone back to work. I stopped work for a long time because I was, yeah, just not feeling well. So I've got 2 or 3 different jobs going now. I've got my own business. You know, again, with the uni, like it's enabled me to have confidence in my ability to manage, you know, stressful situations and anxiety, so that, you know, study isn't actually an issue. I can handle that within my daily routine. And yeah, I don't know. It's actually just absolutely everything. I know that's that's very vague, but it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't living. I wasn't living before, whereas now you know, I'm actually quite happy in myself. I feel strong in myself again, and I have the confidence to just do those normal day-to-day things where, you know, 6 months ago I couldn't even do that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So like once you created that result for yourself, especially around the anxiety, what else
Mhm.
changed to you? Like as a result of becoming more confident, more, you know, independent and stronger, what else began to expand for you?
Professionally, quite a few things have changed where I don't know how, yeah, it was one of those things too where they all just kind of stumbled into my lap randomly after all these decisions had been made. So with my personal training, I've got the job at the gym, which, you know, I've been qualified, but I was inexperienced. So it's enabled me to start growing as a personal trainer and actually get some really valuable experience there. I got offered work at my local school, which is an area where, like, I'm studying education. So it's an area I want to go in. And it's just, I guess, made me more confident in my, you know, business and professional abilities. And that's actually being valued, I suppose, by these new jobs that I've been offered.
Awesome. Cool. And how's it impacting on the rest of your family too?
As the kids or my wider family.
The kids, if you stick to closer family to begin with.
Yeah, my relationship with them is just, yeah, it's really incredible at the moment. I was really withdrawn and very crabby and snappy, and yeah, I wasn't very pleasant to be around for a while there. So I think I've been focusing a lot, like in this process, on my relationship with them, and I suppose appreciating that, you know, they are, I guess they're just kids, and I can see that, you know, a cranky mum, even though it doesn't actually mean that, it makes them feel like it's their fault. And so yeah, working through that, we just, yeah, I have so much fun with them now, and I can actually be present and really enjoy, you know, we love MasterChef, so we can have that quality time where we actually are just together, no phones, just watching a program and having a hug.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I feel more, being more secure in myself enables me to then teach them those skills as well. So my eldest gets a bit anxious at times, so I've been able to help her manage her anxiety at the same time as, you know, obviously improving my skills in that as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, awesome. And another question related to the results that you've got. Obviously, you mentioned earlier about learning more about the brain and, you know, your own emotional response, etc. How much of an impact has that had on your relationships with your children and the way that you manage yourself on a day-to-day basis?
It's been huge as well because it's, yeah, sort of like I was saying with the anxiety, it's enabled me to understand the stress response as well. Sorry, there's a big truck going past.
That's cool.
And I suppose, yeah, being conscious of, yeah, those moments of overwhelm and, I guess it's, yeah, being able to make that choice to either, let those feelings overtake you or actually stop yourself and be in control of it, which then, filters onto the relationships because you're actually in control of how you're feeling. Um, to be a better. Oh, I've just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So obviously you said it enables you to feel more in control, and then obviously that impacts the relationships because
Sorry, that's right. Because I get getting so caught up in. I think we'd had a talk about the dishes and that beating yourself up when things aren't done to this ridiculously high standard that you hold for yourself, and I guess taking the pressure off myself in those areas, it's actually made me you know more enjoyable to be around. I'm actually at ease and I'm not always stressing about what hasn't been done,
mm-hmm.
which again is how I'm able to actually sit down and have a relaxing night with them or play a game of Yahtzee or something rather than, oh, I've got to do the dishes, just go to bed, I'm too busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I think like looking back at your journey, it's pretty incredible, and you should be proud of how far you've come because it is a long way. And like I said to you before we had this conversation, it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to always be looking ahead at the next thing, like what's next, without looking back and measuring, the last 6 months and thinking, you know what, God, I've killed it. I've changed so much, and I've really flipped my life around on it. Well, just completely flipped it around, which is now setting me up to move forwards. And I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize is this reflection time, looking back at the journey, looking back at the awesome things that you've achieved and how you've overcome certain things, it just gives you that fulfillment and that happiness and that joy, and it enables you to tick off those wins and then continue to move forwards, but from a place of happiness and from a place of joy.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, hold on. Sorry, pardon, darling. Very nice. Oh, that's very cool, darling. I'll have them in. Yeah, that's right. It's so true because you just, the last couple of weeks especially, I've been doing that where I'm happy with. Oh yeah, I sort of forgot where I've been, where I was, and I'm just focused on how do I get better? How do I get better?
Yeah.
So then, you need to take that time to stop and look back and go, well, fuck, I've actually come a really, really long way. So I need to enjoy that as well.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, so one more question. What are you most excited about now, moving forwards?
I think the relationship I've got with my girls at the moment and continuing to build on that is, to me, that's just, it's the best area of my life at the moment. And it's the most exciting because, well, personally, I think it's the most valuable thing I'll ever do. So being able to, consciously kind of focus on those positive aspects and be the absolute best mum that I can to them, that's really, really good.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that journey. And like, I think that, you give yourself that your own experience of looking back at that and feeling good about how far you've come. But obviously I think that this is something that inspires you, it inspires me, and I think it can inspire lots of other people as well, especially women in your situation or anyone that relates to it. So thank you for sharing that.
No